are going to discuss a few issues today that are facing our legislature, our state, city of Oklahoma City. And then later in the program, we're going to have Wayne Murphy on. And Wayne owns this studio that we're in today, and he has his own podcast. That's how we came to use this. I brought some guests in January of this year, and that were on his podcast. So we'll have Wayne on just a little bit later. But wanted to discuss some things today, and I think one of them I'll start off with, and you guys may have some things too. We saw something last week that was quite strange in Oklahoma County at the county commission meeting, or perhaps it was a jail trust meeting. I'm not sure which. But our sheriff, Tommy Johnson, and our district attorney, Vicky Bahima, got into quite a conflict there. It was almost a little bit embarrassing. And what's at issue here is Tommy has said that as of June 1st, his deputies will no longer transport inmates from the jail to the county courthouse. And anyway, that's something that is an expense to him. And so the jail trust is going to have to come up with how are they going to pay to do that. And I wanted to discuss this thing because, in my opinion, the whole concept of the jail trust is a fiasco. It was something that Kevin Calvey introduced, and it was an attempt to get rid of a very bad county sheriff that had been a county sheriff for a long time. And I think we would have got rid of him anyway. But this was tried over in Tulsa many years ago. And they created a jail trust, and after a few years they disbanded the thing because they realized it was a waste of money. There was additional expense by doing that jail trust. And according to the Constitution, the highest responsibility of the county is to fund the jail, and you do that through the sheriff's department is where you do that. Mm-hmm. And I know here in Logan County, we have 3/4 cent sales tax countywide, and 1/4 of that goes to the county commissioners for roads and bridges. 1/4 of it goes to your fire departments. We have, I think, 13 or 14 in Logan County, and they each split that up an equal amount. Mm-hmm. I think it's about generally $100,000 per fire department. And then 1/4 of the cent goes for the operational expense of the jail. And we have an absolutely excellent jail. Our sheriff, whom we've had on our program here, is a very serious Christian. And he knows that he has some really bad people in that jail, but a lot of them are just people that made a dumb mistake at some point in time. And so he treats them all with respect, certainly allows ministers to come in and share the gospel with any of them that want to. And when they're out, our sheriff even helps them to find a job and go straight and things like that. And that's why we have almost no lawsuits here. It's because of your jails where you get a lot of lawsuits, and because our sheriff operates it so well, has such a well-trained staff, mm-hmm. and things like that, we just don't have problems here. And there was a county here a few years ago that was up in the northeastern part of the state, and had an inmate that complained about a health issue, and the jail staff kind of mocked him, and the medical people kind of mocked this person, and he was saying he needed medical attention, and he ends up dying the next day. And the family sues, in federal court. They get a successful lawsuit, and I believe the family got $35 million, if I'm not mistaken. Well, insurance only covered 2 of that. So who do you think had to cover all the rest of it? It was attached to the property taxes of every citizen in that county. And that's why it was so important, and why I worked so hard when I was a county commissioner, when that 3/4 cent sales tax came up for renewal. I worked so hard to get that renewed, because all 3 of those are proper functions of government: roads, fire department, sheriff's office. And so anyway, I was a little concerned about the sheriff department. The roads and fire department passed at about 88 to 91%, but the jail dropped down to maybe around 70, something to that nature, because a lot of people don't care about inmates. They don't care whether they rot in jail or what.
Put them in some orange jumpsuit and let it be. Huh?
But I think it's a horrible mistake, and in my opinion, my estimation, they ought to move to disband the jail trust in Oklahoma County. And Tommy Johnson has said, if it disbands, then he becomes responsible for it. He said, I don't want it back, but he said, if it comes back, we'll do what our job is to do. We'll take care of it. And that would solve this problem. And so these county commissioners down there, and we have a county commissioner just resigned. Miles Davidson just resigned. And so we have an interim filling in for him. And then we have we had another county commissioner resign, probably a year and a half ago, I guess. And so they had to have a special election, and I forget the name of the guy. He was a very liberal state legislator and attorney, and he ran for that position. And I actually think he's doing a far better job as a county commissioner than he did as a state legislator. He was a horrible legislator. But that's what these county commissioners, they need to do. They need to get together and get rid of that thing. That's my thought anyway on it. I don't know, but what do you think about it? Or if you want to move on to another.
Well, I just wanted to tease a little bit and say, liberals do well as county commissioners.
Yeah, there you go.
Structured that way.
Well, and okay, I'm going to have to admit, folks, when I was running for re-election, I had some independent expenditures or dark money cards that came out. And the first one came out exposed me. They exposed me for being a liberal, a rhino, and a hypocrite. And they had proof of it too. They had a picture of me right between my 2 best buddies. On my left was a picture of Barack Obama, and on my right was a picture of Joe Biden. And so that's finally I got outed for being the liberal that whoever it was that hated me.
Oh, that was before AI. It was before AI when they never doctored pictures, did they?
Oh, no.
I remember that. That was one of the funniest things ever.
So I do have something, Charlie, but what else is on your list? Because you really wanted this time frame.
I had a question.
Sure.
And maybe it doesn't even fit here, but we were talking about that sales tax that funds the fire department and the sheriff's office and the roads. I get, and we get, letters all the time asking for donations to the fire department. Is the fire department well funded? Is it underfunded? Do you know?
So there are 2 types of fire departments. It's called a Title 18 and a Title 19. So let's take the Woodcrest Fire Department, where the 3 of us are a part of that.
And that's a rural part of the county.
That's
so
a rural
it's
part of the.
It's
right.
Volunteer.
Right. That's volunteer fire department. Now they do have 1 or 2 full-time staff, and that's because they're a Title 19. Now let me go to the 18 first. That means you don't get any property tax to support that. So that's all voluntary subscription. And usually under those situations, they'll have bean suppers and other things to raise funds for that. The Meridian Fire Department is an example of a Title 18, and it is a really wonderful fire department. And one of the last things I was able to do for them before I was no longer a commissioner is I was able to get a REAP grant for almost $50,000 to buy a Jaws for Life and a saw that would cut through metal. Those two implements plus like a generator that would run those two, because on Highway 105 it's very hilly. It's a dangerous 2-lane highway, and there's more and more wrecks on it, rollovers and things like that. And so I was able to get that for them as a REAP grant. Now, a Title 19 means you're financed by property taxes. Mm-hmm. And so there's nothing that says that you can't also receive money from donations from people and things like that. Usually when you have a Title 19 fire department, you have much better equipment and facilities. It's reliable. Many years ago, 1989, I was actually on the board of directors of the Woodcrest Fire Department. We were Title 18 at that time. We scrimped, and it was always touch and go on whether you. And when you get a big fire, folks, that costs a huge amount of money, and fuel, and possibly repairs for your vehicles and things. I know the first fire I went out on as a third round group, volunteers, because the first two groups, they were worn out. They'd been out day and night for 36, 48 hours. So I took some fellows out in the back of a pickup, and we were following a truck to a fire, and this truck tried to jump a ditch, and he busted a U-joint on that. I was able to get across the ditch, but he busted a U-joint on that. And so now he's crippled. If that fire comes up there, you lose a truck. Yeah. And fortunately it didn't, And by the way, that particular firefighter at that time is now the chief at Langston, and he's now in the hospital in critical condition of a wreck when they were coming back from one of the big fires up around Woodward or Enid, and they were coming up, and the fire truck and a semi had a wreck, and the chief there is in the hospital in critical condition. Wow. And so anyway, but
so the fire department then in town.
Yeah,
what
so
is
like the city.
Yes. What is that? Is it a title? What is it funded?
No, that's it's not either one of those. That's just a function of city government, and so they are they receive tax revenues from the city, but they also do get the sales tax, their portion of the sales tax here. And these fire departments all have mutual aid agreements, and it's really pretty effective now where they go. We help
each other.
Yeah, they help each other, and we have an emergency management director in Logan County. I was actually the commissioner on that board with them, and he does a very, very good job. Has a drone that can get onto a fire. He can send that drone up and just keep it up on a tether, and so it's electrified the whole time, so it can stay up there for hours and watch, or he can fly it independently or things like that. But when these emergency management groups are getting better and better across the state at working together. And so quite often, like up at Woodward, we sent several trucks from different fire departments here up to Woodward, and then they were coming back, and so anyway, it's really an amazing deal. And
I suppose in terms of funding, I ask that question. If your house burns down, the fire department's underfunded. If your neighbor's house burns down, but they stopped it there, then everything's fine. Right? Is that really how it works? I don't know what to do with the idea of funding for a fire department.
Well,
how much is enough?
When it was a Title 18, this always chapped me, But people, and it was a whopping $36 a month. I mean, $36 a year or $48 a year. I can't remember. But people wouldn't join. And then when a fire broke out, they would run and they would pay their dues if they thought their house was threatened. Because if they're a member, there's no charge to them for putting the fire out. But if they're not, then that Title 18 can charge them for the time they spent on their property. And so, but that was sad to see that people. And so, I can go both ways.
So
with
even though a Title 19 doesn't really have a lot of money, they don't have those dues, or they do?
No, they don't have dues. No.
Okay. But they can do the fundraisers.
They can do fundraisers.
Okay.
So
Well, that
Charlie,
explains
They
a
can,
lot.
they can request donations.
Okay.
for the sake of time, what else is on your list? You had what else is important?
Well, we have a situation here. This is an article here by Steve Fair. Steve Fair was one of our national committee men for several years. Very conservative. He's down in the Duncan area. And he has this article about TSET funds. Now, TSET is your tobacco settlement. And when we got a judgment many, many years against the tobacco companies, they were ordered to reimburse the states. And so that money started coming in. And Oklahoma, to their credit, they determined that we want to lock those funds in for a certain purpose. Because many states that got that, they just spent it willy-nilly and it's gone. There's nothing there. And so we voted for a constitutional amendment that said that as these funds came in, that they would be sequestered and they would earn money. And of the earnings, those earnings could be used for tobacco cessation or improving health outcomes and things like that. Mm-hmm. Well, that fund is up over $2 billion now. Mm-hmm. And year before last, the interest on that was almost $160 million. So that's a lot of money. And so there's legislation this year to try to get their hands on some of that money. And as Steve says, here's just one sentence. It says, first, the legislature is relentless in pursuing the TSET money. And so what they want to do is they want to cut that $2 billion in half, leave $1 billion in that fund, and then let them get their greedy hands on that other $1 billion. And,
to do what with?
Well, this is interesting. It's not in this article here, but in watching things, I think we're going to have a state question to vote on, not in this, not the primary, but in the primary runoff, to see if we want to use that money to improve education.
I knew it was going to be education. How did I know that? What is that money earmarked for now?
So right now the principal, the $2 billion, that can't be touched right now. But this would change that, where we'd split that up. Part of that would go, and then the other $1 billion would stay, and it would still be for what its usage is.
Which is reducing tobacco consumption or advertising,
right,
marketing.
and improving health outcomes.
Oh, okay, improving health outcomes.
Yeah. And so, anyway, But here's the thing. For the last 60 years, we've been trying to improve education, last 40 years, last 4 decades, by throwing more money at it. And boy, have we done that. We have thrown untold billions of dollars at education over these last 4 decades, increased spending like you cannot believe. And what has it gotten us? Actually, if you want to know academic performance as measured on the ACT test, which has been dumbed down twice in the last 20 years. They call it normed, but it's actually dumbed down twice. And so our scores are flat or slightly declining. And trust me, folks, we will get into education one of these days.
But the lottery was supposed to be the answer for all of this.
Yes, wasn't it?
But the lottery...
And the legislature stole that money too.
Sure. The lottery, sales tax or liquor taxes...
Bonds.
Everything that you can think of. We have done many different things. Horse racing... all these kinds of things that we have done through the past to get more money to improve education, and education is not improved. And let me say something, folks. I'm not going to take the time to prove it right now, but we will. Our failures in education are planned. Most teachers don't have a clue what I'm talking about here, but they are planned failure. And I'll explain it like this. The last 2 people in the world that want to see racial harmony were Jesse Jackson, who has just passed on recently, and Al Sharpton. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they have, for many years, made themselves super wealthy, telling the black community in America that they are the saviors from evil whitey that wants to suppress the black community. And so education is much the same way. The last entities that want education to operate like a Swiss watch are the people who run the education industry. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I've mentioned it here or not, but if you want to read just one book to understand what's happened to the educational system in America from 200 years ago, when it was the greatest in the world, to today, when it's one of the worst in the world. That one book would be NEA, Trojan Horse in American Education by Sam Blumenfeld. That book was written in 1983. And there's a quote in that book from Mary Hartwood Futrell, and she was the president of the NEA at that time. And now I'm going to give you what the quote is. Now, this is the president of the largest teacher union in America. And here's the quote. "Education is on the back burner to us. We are walking the halls of Congress to reshape America." Reshape it into what? And I would suggest that Barack Obama used 3 words that would describe it: hope and change. We hope to change America from all of its original ideas and purposes. We want to change its economic system from free market capitalism to full-blown socialism. We want to change its value system from that of Judeo-Christian values to a humanistic value system. We basically want to make America a communist nation. That's basically it. And so I used to tell people, if you want to just read one book to understand. In 2015, that book was updated, and the updated version is called Crimes of the Educators. And there were two authors. One was Sam Blumenfeld, and the other one was Alex Newman. And shortly after that book was published, Sam died. He was in his 90s. And Alex Newman, whom you and I both know, Bob, and I've had Alex stay in our home a couple of times. This guy has the mantle of authority now. This guy knows more about what's wrong with education in America than any person alive today. And so it was updated. And then just recently, Alex wrote his own book, and I'll bring it in. I can't remember the title of it. I just picked it up recently. Alex was in Edmond speaking, and he was actually at OPAC, and then
What's his name?
Alex Newman. And anyway, I picked up a copy of his latest book, and you may find it there probably.
Yeah.
And,
Let's go back to the other book, NEA, Trojan Horse.
In American Education
In American
by
Education.
Sam Blumenfeld.
There's a lot of those used available. New one on Amazon is like $50-something.
Okay. Wow, boy, I'm gonna hold on.
You can
to
get them
mine.
for $5 or $6.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
may I bring
it's
up
well
the top?
worth it.
Indoctrination,
Yeah.
our children to death, government schools, war
Yeah.
on faith,
Yep.
family and freedom.
Yep.
I'd like to bring up something on the matter of property rights. And there was a bill that was being advanced in our legislature. I do not believe it was, while it was being passed along the way, along the journey, I don't believe it completed the journey and became law because our legislature ended session early. They had to drop legislation and just ignore it. And this was on the issue of eviction notices. And you have property managers, landlords, owners who would like to evict a tenant because they're, for whatever reason. And this law change would have made it possible for essentially for the court to order a mediation, okay, so to speak. And if there was a mediator available, you look at the details of the bill, the plaintiff and defendant can go to this mediation and see if they could resolve the differences. Now, the challenge on this is, if I understand the history of this right, if I have this correct, you have a few people, and let's say a couple of our bigger counties, as owners, who will, on day one someone's late, they'll file it for an eviction. So it ends up creating a court record. And it's a means of, the argument is it's a means of encouraging people to pay their rent, okay? Because they don't want that on the blemish on their record. It could prevent them or make it difficult for them to rent again in the future. There may well be some people abusing the system and taking advantage of the courts, all right, to do this. But on the other hand, by mandating mediation, and there be a delay now in the eviction process, it takes longer to evict someone. What that does is for all the other folks who own properties, and for very legitimate reasons, they need to do an eviction. It takes longer, and it costs more for them. They will lose more money because of the transition from one tenant to another when the government gets in the middle of that process. And so those who are genuinely trying to play by the rules, do a good job by their tenants, and they actually run into a bad apple, they pay an even greater price because of the few that want to abuse the system. And that kind of a law, going through our legislators, we really shouldn't allow that. We shouldn't, that kind of a law, in my opinion, shouldn't pass. Because first off, if you're a property owner, you should be able to ask someone to leave, all right? And right now, they're required by law to get a 30-day notice. That's plenty of time. That, after that, the longer it is, well, that's less opportunity the owner has to pay the mortgage on that rental property. The greater risk they have to lose it. Their cost goes up. As a result,
Because they may not be getting payments from the renter.
If they're not
Probably
getting payments
is
from
what
the
the
renter,
case is.
They're already
yeah.
behind.
they've still got to pay the property taxes, insurance,
Right.
maintenance on the property, a mortgage. You see, the owner still has to do all that. What that really does is it drives up the cost of rent for everybody else.
Right.
And then you have fewer people that are willing to get into the industry. So you get a few folks at the top, these large corporations, they can sustain that better. So your mom and pop owners have a difficult time staying in the market, staying in the industry. The few of the large guys get in there and they can dominate and prices go up. This is what we see in a number of our coastal states, and it's driving up the price of rent. I'm not saying it's not a problem. I really don't know a lot about it. But I will say this can't possibly be the solution. It's impacted everybody else. It's like taking away somebody's right to own a firearm because their neighbor got carried away. It's the same idea. We shouldn't do that. Just so you know, I'm sure this will come up again in the future. I'd be very surprised if it didn't come up again next year. I'm hoping you would track this legislation when it does. It'll have a whole new bill number and all because we'll have a whole new legislator.
Well, Bob, next year, which won't be an election year, we'll be able to devote a lot more time to legislation.
Yes.
That's in our legislature, informing you of what is good and needs to be supported and what is bad that needs to be killed. And so we'll be able to do that much more next year.
Looking forward to it, but we definitely need to protect property rights. It impacts all of us.
Yep. So one last thing here. I've got a couple here, but there was an article recently, came from Oklahoma Watch, and I've seen, over the last year and a half, 2 years maybe in the Oklahoman, this concern about the growing conservatism in the state of Oklahoma. And the question is...
it's a concern, huh?
Yes, it's a concern. In fact, one either was titled, "Is there room for moderate Republicans in Oklahoma?" And I'm hoping there isn't room for them. You know, the Democrats have been far more successful in purging the moderate Democrats from their party than we Republicans have been in purging the rhinos out of our party. But we're in process of doing that. And so what's going to happen here pretty soon is we're going to have two clear distinctions. You can have the ultra-leftist, progressive, socialist, communists that control the Democrat Party, and they're growing in their power there, versus the constitutionalists, the limited government people. You know, I've had an opportunity to speak to a lot of young people over the years. And one of the things that I do when I have this opportunity is I tell them that in its purest forms, there's only two types of government. We have a lot of names for government, dictatorship, democracy, republic, monarchy, a lot of different names. But all of them are just variations of these two polar opposite extremes. And
Sure.
I'll tell you what they are. It's either a government that protects your private property and respects your freedom, or it's a government that consumes your private property and abuses your liberties and freedoms. That's the two types. And when you think of it that way, the Republican Party tends to be is in the direction of the one that, and if we can make it more pure, if we can improve the quality of the Republican Party, it will be that party that protects your private property and respects your liberties. And the Democrat Party will be exposed for what it is, and that's the one that wants to consume your private property and abuse your liberties. That's really the struggle in their purest forms. Like I say, we have a lot of names for government, and they're just variations of those two things.
Sure.
You know, and but with that said, there is this article out of the Oklahoman, and it comes from the Oklahoma Watch, and it says, "No free lunches. At least 11 Republican candidates have pledged to reject lobbyist meals and gifts." I'll take it a little further. Reject or not take any contributions from lobbyists, and no gifts from lobbyists. And you know, Jason Murphy was one of the ones that really kind of pioneered this when he was in the legislature fairly early on. He came into his office one day, and a lobbyist had dropped a gift off in his office for him. And he had to run that lobbyist down. He had to take time to run that lobbyist down and give him that gift back. And that was a waste of his time. So he put a sign up on his door, no gifts from lobbyists, okay? And now we're beginning to see this whole idea grow, and where it says these 11 candidates have made this pledge. our state, the candidate that is running, Robert Trimble, for State Senate District 28 against Grant Green, a very liberal Republican. He has one of the strongest convictions against taking lobbyist money of anyone I've ever seen. That just a natural conviction against it.
Who is that again?
Robert Trimble.
Okay, I thought you said someone who was running him.
Yeah, anyway, so he finally, I finally got him convinced that needs to be a part of his literature. That needs to be part of his handouts and things like that. So he finally got his consultant to create something decent and brought it by to me, and I've got a picture of it. It's actually a mail piece, and he says that he's going to have a push card with this on it too.
Molly Jenkins has it right on her signs.
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering how much of an impact that has.
Yeah.
So you're saying there are going to be 11 offices this year that have a no lobbyist money right on their door.
Yeah.
Maybe one day it'll be on the Capitol.
I think it'll be more. It's a growing thing, and I think I'll tell you what. I'm involved in multiple state senate races and House races. And I can tell you, when I talk to someone about a candidate, if I don't have literature with me at that time or something, when I tell them that this person has taken a pledge not to take any money from lobbyists, it really impacts people, because I think people are waking up to this fact. Lobbyists don't spend massive amounts of money if it doesn't serve their purpose.
Yep, that's right.
So, and I would suggest that all of these, when you get flyers in the mail, you look and see who paid for it. It'll either be the candidate himself, or it will be a dark money group. And if it's a dark money group, that should be a sign to you, because that comes from basically lobbyists. That is a sign that if this person stays in office or is elected, they will not represent you. I'm sorry. They are down there doing the bidding of the lobbyists that put the money in their pockets.
Yeah, and they're either promoting socialism or crony capitalism, because in the end, they can control these systems to get their payback.
That's right.
Our liberties are not a value to them. They're a value to us, right?
Yep. That's right.
Well, we're kind of limited on time at this point. Anything else before we close?
I think that's it. We will have Marty Quinn on a program for Wednesday. And so he's running to be the next insurance commissioner in the state of Oklahoma. And then the following week, we start with gubernatorial candidates. We will have in studio Chip Keating, and then Charles McCall. It will either be in studio or Zoom. And then the following week after that, we will have Mike Mazie, and that will be by Zoom. So anyway, we're moving right along.
Looking forward to it all.
Welcome to the ABCs of Politics and Culture podcast. We have a really special guest with us here today. This is Wayne Murphy. Wayne is a pastor. He actually owns this studio where we broadcast today, and he has his own podcast, and so we wanted him on. We just, for a few minutes, tell him how much we appreciate him allowing us to use this studio, and tell us a little bit about your podcast, Wayne.
Oh, well, thank you, Charlie. Yes, I've had a lot of enjoyment putting this studio together, and glad that it can get some good use out of it. And I put it together with the intent and to put out a podcast called The Mission Highway. Mm-hmm. And I've really enjoyed doing that. We're doing it with the intent of lifting up Christ, to let people know about the gospel and the good news that Christ brought to us. So That's just a little bit about it. You need more background?
Well, actually, we had a program back in January where we brought in Dave and Carmen Hale with the organization Elam Ministries. And a lot of people don't know that the Church of Jesus Christ has been growing faster in Iran than any nation in the world for the last several years.
Yeah.
And Elam Ministries is a huge part of that growth, not only numerically. God's doing more by just performing tremendous miracles, and people are having visions and dreams and things like that. But as far as maturing and growing and having the materials on hand and things like that to facilitate that. Anyway, we had them on your podcast.
Yes.
That's when I brought them here, and that's when I saw what a fantastic studio this was. and so it's a huge improvement over our original studio downtown Guthrie where we started, So,
yeah.
But
well, that's certainly our intent, is to get the gospel out. And just to give you a little bit more background about this, I guess the inspiration would have started with my father.
okay.
My father was a minister, and he had a drive in him to spread the gospel wherever he could. He would go, when he was young, he would go to country schoolhouses around this area and preach and hold revivals. And he had a missionary spirit. He went to Mexico, Ecuador. In fact, he came very close to moving us to Ecuador.
Is that right?
Yeah. But what actually tipped the scales that he didn't is the fact that he saw communism in the public school. And he didn't want us, his children, to be exposed to that communism in the public schools. But he was, in my mind, he was a pioneer. And he had a radio broadcast that he started back in 1965, and he called it the Mission Trail. And I don't know where he got the name for that, other than the fact that he would go down every trail to preach the gospel.
Okay.
That was his mission, the Mission Trail. So I grew up, I went into the ministry in 1980 or 1978, started ministry. And then when I retired, I wanted to do something else, do more.
Right.
And so, in Matthew 22:9, I believe it is, where that Jesus, he gave a parable and talked about this man who had made a marriage supper. And he invited people to come. And they had all kinds of excuses for not coming.
Right.
Finally, he told his servants, go out into the
Highways and the byways.
and bid them to come in. Well, you know what the highway is today? Information highway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I thought you were going to say Route 66.
No, it's the mission highway. It's the internet. That's where people are, and that's the command today. Go out into the internet where people are and invite them to come in. So that's sort of the background, the inspiration for the Mission Highway podcast.
Yeah, that's great. For people may not know this, Wayne Murphy and his wife Mary are the mother and father of Jason Murphy, our former state representative here. And anyway, I believe that you all, at some point in time, probably you and Mary were missionaries in the Philippines. I believe you've done some mission trips.
We have. We've gone down there. I've been there maybe 4 times.
Okay. Okay. And then you went to work for Logan County. You've done several positions there. And then you and Mary both were in the county assessor's office. And when your boss had to retire for health reasons, you were the assessor for a short period of time and chose not to run for that. And Mary ran for that. And she has just been reelected.
Yes.
And so she is our current county assessor in what is Oklahoma's reddest county. with more with more conservative leaders per capita of any county in the state of Oklahoma.
If that's the case, why do my property taxes keep going up every year?
You'll have to take it up with his wife.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to have Mary on the show.
I think it has to do with the fact that Logan County is in the top 5 fastest growing counties in the state and has been for at least the last 8 years. And with all that growth, property values are going up, and when property values go up, so do taxes. Am I close to correct on that?
You're very close.
Yeah.
There's a lot of growth in Logan County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna, you stole my thunder, because I was gonna say that, you know, we are the most conservative county with the most conservative leaders, and
Yeah. Here's
Pastor
another
Wayne
example.
is one of them. Yes.
Yeah, and so is his son, and
Yes.
so yeah, we've got the 3 of us would be in that category, and Don Spencer with OK2A, and you've got Daniel Nevejas and Kyle Brown with their particular ministries, and they're just and we are in the process. We're on the precipice of getting rid of our liberal state legislators. We have 2 Senate seats and 5 House seats that cover Logan County. And with the election 2 years ago of Jim Shaw and oh gosh,
You're thinking of Molly Jenkins?
Molly Jenkins, thank you. We replaced 2 fairly liberal people. Well, one was exceedingly liberal, with 2 people that have scored 100. We have Denise Crosswhite Hayter. She's in the top. Her lifetime average on a conservative index, after probably 8, maybe 10 years now, is in the 90s. And we're getting ready to replace 2 state senators with people that will be much more conservative. And we're getting rid of John Pyther, our most liberal state rep. And I think we have a shot of, there's at least 2 very conservative people of the 6 that are running there. So we are, this conservative base that exists here now is starting to show itself out in how we're getting rid of liberal state legislators that have been here for way too long and replacing them. And so, but Wayne, you've been a big part of this.
Yes, and another thing that we've been doing, kind of, I don't think it's been spoken a lot about, is we have been working on our city council.
Mm-hmm.
And we really stepped up conservatively with our mayor.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Mayor Gentling, but Adam Ropp is I think a little more cutting edge on the conservative side of things. And this is something that your son Jason and I have talked about a lot, is that the mask mandate, there's many things that fall into the hands of the city council. And so that's another thing that your family has been, because Jason's advised me a lot on those kinds of things. And so we see a lot of things changing in Logan County, and it's the people that can really make a difference.
Right.
And Pastor Wayne has been such an asset in helping our groups, the conservative groups, just like this.
Wayne, tell us a little bit more about Mission Highway. What do you do on, I'm sure it's a weekly program or more frequently?
Actually, I do it as I have time and as I have the burden to do it. I do it on inspiration.
That's great.
So I don't feel obligated to do just...
It is in podcast format?
It is.
It is, okay. And what do you do to change things to keep the audience and so on? What's your format? How do you go about that?
The mechanics of it, one of the guiding principles is short and simple. Short, let me tell you about this. I was sitting in church one time, and the preacher was droning on and on and on. He was preaching the gospel, but I was tired. And I thought, I wonder, if Jesus was here, how long would he preach? I thought, we have his Sermon on the Mount. So I turned over, and while the preacher droned on, I read the Sermon on the Mount, and I timed it. 14 minutes?
Was it 14?
If you do slowly, I think maybe 15. I thought, how much depth is in that Sermon on the Mount. We still talk about it today. I mean, it carried such weight. It doesn't have to be long, and you don't have to wear people out. Charlie, you've been in Toastmasters, and you know every good performer leaves the audience wanting more.
Yeah.
That's the way you do it.
Right.
And so that's a little bit of a concept that I have followed. And also be simple. The scripture says that the common people heard him gladly. The common people.
Right.
Keep it simple and let everybody understand the gospel. And I do various formats. I do quite a few of them just on my own, but I also interview other people that have some interesting insights into what they have experienced, you know, with the Lord and how to live for the Lord. So you find, I think, what we want is takeaway, that people can see it, they can leave it wanting more, feeling better, and having a better idea how they can or incorporate the scriptures in their life.
Right. Well, you've been very, very good to allow us to use this, and you have worked with Bob here. We are soon to have capability of Zoom, and I think it took you all quite a bit of time to get that set up and everything. And
Well, Bob's worked hard on that.
You'll be able to use Zoom now to reach out to people across the nation that you might want to interview.
I'll know who to contact to get information on how to do it.
But how not to do it? Going through 1,000 iterations using our existing resources.
Yeah.
So Wayne, how do we find Mission Highway on the internet?
Good question. There's a QR code, the Mission Highway. If you want to use that, that'll take you to the YouTube podcast of the Mission Highway. And you could go to Facebook or YouTube, and you can look for that logo. That logo will get you to the Mission Highway.
Well, let me flip this.
I'm glad you brought something else out, because I've never used one of those things.
a QR code? Yeah.
Never done one yet in my life. Don't intend to.
Did you hand draw this artwork there, Wayne?
No.
So, Wayne, we really do appreciate you
I found it.
spending a little time with us here, and we urge our viewers to check out Wayne's podcast here. And
Mission
particularly-
Highway.
Yeah, Mission Highway. And particularly check out that program back in January with Dan and Carmen Hale regarding the growth of the Church of Jesus Christ in Iran. And so that was a really good program. And
It was.
And anyway, we appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Charlie.
Yeah.
Wayne, thank you.
And Bob, and Aya, thank
Yes,
you.
good to see you.
Yes,
See how that worked, Charlie?
I'll see you in about a
Turn my
week.
camera on.
you
Yeah.
will.
On Monday.
No, I know how it works. I refuse to use it. So, every time I just finally get to where I can use one technology, they come out with something else. And it just drives me nuts.
Well, it works.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm a late bloomer.